Hello everyone, it's Yiannis Karakasis, Instagram Live through Celine Restaurant Instagram account. The next best thing would be to broadcast actually from Santorini, from Fira, where Celine Restaurant is located, and hopefully we'll do that very, very soon. Before I connect with my wine friends in London to discuss about Assyrtiko and Santorini, let me explain what is so special about the wine there. So, you know, beyond being one of the most amazing destinations in the world in terms of beauty, Santorini has a unique story. And you know, in these times, every region in the world talks about having something unique, distinctive, something very, very special. And I think this is very, very fair. For example, Bordeaux talks about its great growths. Burgundy about being the holy grail of Pinot Noir. Rhône about the staked vines, the slopes, and all the amazing wines from Syrah. But let me tell you a little bit about the story of Santorini. Santorini, the vineyard is one of the most ancient vineyards in the world, continuously farmed for centuries, 34 centuries, more than 3,000 words. And there we have ancient varieties and vines of Assyrtiko that we don't really know how old they are. They can be 200 years old, they can be 300 years old, they can be 400 years old. So now this is crazy in terms of the wine world like we know it. We have volcanic soils, they bring energy in the wine, phylloxera free, so very, very old roots that penetrate, they go very, very deep, and dangerously low yields. We're talking about yields that are a few kilos per strema, few hectoliters per hectare. If you compare them with other regions, you will be amazed. So, for example, this year, 2019, saw 5 hectoliters per hectare, the final yield of Santorini. When you go for a Grand Cru in Burgundy, they go to 20 or 25 hectoliters per hectare. Moreover, we're talking about dry farmed vineyards, and all of this planted on the slopes of one of the most aggressive volcanoes in the world. Still active, by the way, last eruption in the 50s. And let me try now to connect, if I can press this button, of course. Okay. Let me connect with Lenka and Justin from London. Okay. Okay,
hello.
so.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello, Justin.
Hello,
Lenka. I'm good. I'm fine.
Great.
So we have my guest today, this evening, Lenka Sedlackova and Justin Nock, both based in UK in London, good friends, also masters of wine, and it will be an experiment tonight, this evening, if we agree on something. What do you say?
I'm sure we will.
Okay, so I have opened some wines, some Assyrtiko,
yep,
of course.
Us too.
So have we.
The same?
No, we have 2 vintages of Piritis from Artemis Karamolegos. So we have 2016 and 2017.
Interesting. Okay, so before we start tasting, I would like to ask first, let's have Lenka. Lenka, how would you describe Assyrtiko as a variety?
So I think as a grape variety, for me, the best sort of similarity would be Semillon. So it's a variety that's quite waxy in character, lots of lovely lemon and lemon rind notes, lemon balm. It ages in a similar way to Semillon as well, sort of gets that toasty character as it ages. It's a variety that's very high in acidity, very low in pH, as we know, because of the volcanic soils of Santorini and everything. It's Assyrtiko wines for me tend to have a real purity of fruit, especially the examples from Santorini. A real sort of laser-like acidity that goes through the wine, and that gives a real lift and freshness to the wines.
Fantastic. Justin, would you like to add something on this concept?
Of course. I think the variety is superbly named because it is a strong character wine. Okay, so it's assertive, it's got personality, it's got strength, and if you talk about the landscape that it grows up in, it's had to have that strength because it's in a very difficult environment. And it also enforces its personality very strongly even through that terroir. So it's, obviously they can be powerful wines, they can be quite ripe, but they never feel alcoholic. Mm-hmm. They have lots of muscularity, lots of stony richness. They're strong wines. You feel like when you taste them, they're an enjoyable, combative experience.
For me, I find Assyrtiko has a certain shape to it. It's not often can you tell that lots of varieties have a particular shape, but for me, Assyrtiko has a real shape to it in the palate, which is quite unique. It's kind of, it starts off being very linear, then it sort of broadens, and then it goes back into that linear bit and sort of, and keeps going along, like going along a highway. It's that sort of straight line in the towards the end. So it's really interesting from that perspective.
Yeah, I was thinking the answer on that question because I was asking myself as well. So my notes were that for me, Assyrtiko now is like a wonder variety. It amazes me because it is one of the rare varieties in the world that has this strong personality, this freshness, this acidity, despite being planted in one of the very warm places. Yeah. Yeah. So for me, it's amazing, and the behavior of Assyrtiko is one of a red grape variety.
Yeah.
In its time, it ages very well. It has the tannins and the phenolics. Do you think that there are other varieties that have this character, that they share the character of Assyrtiko, displaying this personality in a warm place?
Not in quite the same way. I think other varieties tend to have, in a warm place, more of an oily texture because it doesn't keep the pH. I think this is what makes Assyrtiko quite exciting for this current century too, is that obviously on Santorini has a very strong personality type, less clear on the Greek mainland and other areas. But for other parts of the world, I think it's exciting because it holds that acidity and freshness. And this is a challenge facing wine regions everywhere, is how to keep that in the face of warmer and warmer seasons and drier seasons. And this variety seems custom made for the 21st century. But I can't really think of.
No, I can't. I was going to say Riesling, but Riesling doesn't really do that well in hot climates. And
it's a wine of. I think Riesling is on the antipodes of Assyrtiko, warmth versus cold.
Yeah, I think what Riesling does very well is it has a very wide spectrum of character based on where it grows. It's very adaptable, and it can give you a very different expression of the variety, a bit like Chardonnay, I guess. But there aren't that many sort of noble varieties that are able to do that. And what Assyrtiko can do in a hot climate, as Justin was saying, is quite unique. And I look forward to seeing more New World examples of Assyrtiko from South Africa, for instance. We know Eben Sadi has planted Assyrtiko, and there's some other producers who have. And obviously we've got Jim Barry's Assyrtiko from Australia, and I'm sure there are other places where producers should be looking at planting this variety.
I found Assyrtiko in Lebanon.
Wow.
Yep. Of course, there is some in Cyprus, in Italy, planted in more increasing places now. I would like to add that the overall plantings of Assyrtiko is just 2,000 hectares all over the country, and half of it is in Santorini.
Yeah.
I finally got my hands into some official numbers. So the vineyard of Santorini, 1,200 hectares. Of those, 1,000 is Assyrtiko.
Yeah.
So when you get your hands into a bottle of a Santorini wine, we have something very unique, especially if it comes from a a late vintage like 2019 or 2018, where yields were very low.
Very low, yeah.
Okay, next question. Justin, you'll go first if you want. In terms of quality, how do you position a very good Santorini?
It's an interesting prospect because they're so incomparable to other wines. I think I try not to compare them to anything else because even if you said, you know, this is the equivalent quality level of a Burgundy or something like that, it's to slightly misinform the consumer because it then implies some kind of winemaking influence that changes or influences the style. And the Santorini Certicos are so terroir driven. You just need to try them and see whether you like them. And I think what I do is talk to people about what other wines do you like of volcanic origins, because they are very interesting. And there's plenty of examples around now, right through the Mediterranean. Plus you can find them in parts of right through Italy, to be fair, in California. And if you like wines of those styles, I sometimes progress them through like maybe a Greco or a Suave or something for Canary Islands, but something a bit softer. And what I've often done to someone is then go, okay, if you've liked all those, now you're ready to have a Certico.
Okay. The final level.
You've gotten there, yeah. And I think it's got a real convert base because you love it or you don't. I've seen consumers who've had it and they go, no, I don't like this. It's too strong, or they don't understand the terms that we use, but they're often referring to they don't like the sulfur compounds that they might smell.
We have converted some friends to Aseptico who we didn't think would actually like it, but they did.
But then there are other people, it's good to compare things like if you like mineral water, for example. And if people like Vichy Catalan mineral water, which is one of the saltiest mineral waters I know, some people absolutely despise it and other people absolutely adore it. And if you adore it, you probably like Santorini or Certico.
Okay, well said. Lenka.
Well, I would sort of agree that it's very hard to compare it to anything else. I think I would look at where Santorini stands in the grand scheme of Greece, and where the Certico from Santorini, quality-wise, is obviously head and shoulders above all the examples that we find on the mainland, and that's largely to do with the terroir and, a bit more winemaking, I guess a bit more experience by winemakers on Santorini, etc. So I think I would probably start with a quality pyramid within Greece before we even go anywhere further. And I think everyone wants to always compare everything with Burgundy, but Burgundy's had a very long time to be able to eliminate the various parcels and vineyards and say this is a Grand Cru, this is a Premier Cru, etc. I don't think we're quite there yet, even in Santorini. I know there are different vineyard areas within Santorini that give Certico different character, but I'm not quite sure that we're quite there yet with being able to judge them on that merit. So time will tell.
Okay. My suggestion now is to taste the wine. So I will start because we have different styles of wine. I'm going to talk a little bit about the styles so that people understand the expressions of Santorini. First of all, we have the unoaked stainless steel with 4 to 5 months with the lees. So this is the classic style of Santorini. Then we can have a wine with lees aging. We're gonna taste some wines today. We have the oak factor and the Nicteri. We're not gonna discuss that today. This will be a next episode. And of course, we have the super cuvées and the single vineyards that we have a wine like this. I'm gonna start. I have chosen 2 wines. So I'm gonna name the producers because I need to name the producers. There are many excellent producers in the island. Sigalas, Telepos, Gavalas, Gaia, Vasaltis, Santo, Karamolegos, Avantis, Argyros, of course, sorry. And I'm sure, Santo, and I'm sure that I have forgotten someone, but this is not intentional. So my classic Santorini is Dolphins from Avantis, 2019. I opened that yesterday because I wanted to be sure that it's not too tight today. And I have it in my glass. It's a classic lemon green color. and it's very, very mineral. It's very, very citrus driven, and you can understand the minerality. And when you taste it, boy, this is really salty, high acidity. It is one of the wines that has 13.5 alcohol, which is on the low side for Santorini.
Yeah.
Because Assyrtiko is harvested, and it can go from 13.5 to, I have seen 15.5.
Well, a lot of the nectaries are quite high in alcohol, aren't they? So
exactly, and for me, as I taste this wine, it is like a sword.
Yeah.
Salty, mineral. We can find a lot of words. Maybe we can play a game later on. And this is the classic expression. This is like Sigala Santorini, like Caramolego Santorini, like wines that do not seem more than 4 or 5 months on the lees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the lees, they use them in Santorini to give a better balance, because otherwise the acidity, we're talking about super high acidity, it is very highlighted.
Yeah. And I remember from the W trip we did in October, there were quite a few producers who are using more and more lees than in the past. Because they want to keep the wine, they want to age the wine for a bit longer, and they want a fuller palate.
You have a wine. You know how many months the spirit is on the lees? You remember? Let me check that.
Which one? Our wine.
Yes.
The Perites is 10 months on lees. Yeah.
Okay. The standard, the revolution with the lees started with Cavalleros. So Sigalas kept Cavalleros 18 months on the lees. Oh, vintage?
Vintage. 16.
Okay. Cool.
We have a whole collection here of Assyrtiko.
15 is magic, though. I don't remember 16. Maybe it's too young. So Cavallero started the game with 18 months on the lease.
Yeah.
And now, if we're talking about a really, really serious wine, it has seen like, 10 months, 12 months on the lease.
Well, I guess that's quite revolutionary, because the conventional reason to leave the wine on lees for 5 to 10 months is because you would bottle it before the next harvest begins.
Mm-hmm.
So to deliberately age the wine for in excess of 12 months, you're having to make a significant outlay in the winery to have the extra capacity.
Yeah.
So it's an economic decision as much as a style decision too. You really have to be willing to back what you're doing and finance it.
Yeah. Nice comment, Justin. Thanks for that. Would you like to talk a little bit about the wine that you have and how it is expressed, and if you can understand the influence of lees on the Assyrtiko vinification?
So what we've actually done is we've got 2 vintages of the same wine. So 16 here and 17 here. And I mean, Lenka will talk about, she knows more about the producer and the winemaking than I do, but I just talk about my love for Santorini, really.
Yep.
I find the 16s are, maybe with the age, but part of the vintage, have a real piercing, penetrative quality. There's a dried fruit character, like very intense sort of dried grapefruit. There's an intensity to it. Whereas the 17s are a bit more fleshy. Maybe the lees shows up a bit more in the 17s, which look a bit more citrus, stone fruit, more open.
More open, yeah.
But maybe not quite as long and direct as the 16s are. It's hard to know which one to prefer, to be honest.
Yeah, I think we've gone back and forth. I started off preferring the 17, but I think I've gone back to preferring the 16. But obviously, 17 was a more difficult vintage, I think, in Santorini than 2016. Bit more sunshine, bit hotter weather towards the vintage, which is maybe not ideal. But I think with both of these wines, as Justin said, they're quite different. Even though it's the same wine from the same producer and from the same 3 vineyards. I think it's 3 parcels actually. It's a blend of 2 in Pyrgos and 1 in Megalochori. And it comes from 120-year-old vines. And it's actually, the alcohol is relatively high. So in the 2017 is 14.4%, which is quite high, but you can't really taste it.
The 16 is how much?
The 16 is
14.
14, yeah. So 17 is high alcohol, yeah. Yeah, but I don't think it really stands out, to be honest. It's more the fruit character, and for me, the 17 had a sort of more of a dried chamomile, dried flower note on it, and whereas the 16 was more of the mandarin. Am I saying the wrong way around? Sorry. 16 had the sort of dried flower character, and 17 had a more sort of mandarin, more sort of riper citrus fruit character.
More fruity.
Yeah, more fruity. Yeah.
I was checking my notes on the vintages. So, as you said, 16 was an early ripening vintage. It was a dry vintage with 3,000 tons, the total crop, which is a 20% increase compared to 2015, while 2017 was hotter than hell with 2,200 tons. So this is reflected on the character and also on the alcohol.
Yeah. The other thing is, these are wines that make you smile. Yeah. So every time I have a glass of Versertico, I can just, the character is so distinct, and you just go, oh, these are utterly delicious. The citrus fruits are so strong. But there was a comment made earlier too about tourism, and just saying that, Santorini is not just a terroir place, it's a romantic place, right?
It is.
And I think this is what the other thing that's unique about it is that most amazing tourist regions you go to that make wine, the wine is
terrible,
almost universally disappointing. Yeah. And so I don't think people who go to Santorini often realize how good the wines are when they go there. They're utterly world class, and so that is such a strong selling point to people too. Like, there are people that you say, how do you feel when you're in Santorini? Like, it's the most glorious sunset and whatever, but the wines are as world class as the views.
One of my favorite things about Assyrtiko from Santorini is it's kind of astounding how old some of the vines are. And I like to think, when I'm drinking this wine, I like to think, what was happening in the world 120 years ago when these vines were planted. And we know these are not even the oldest vines on Santorini. There are some vines that are 250 years old. And I've seen some, I've stood above them, sort of looking at them in awe, thinking what was happening in the world, when these vines were just being planted. And it's you're drinking history, basically. And it's kind of amazing how inexpensive, relatively speaking, the wines are, considering that you are basically drinking history.
Yeah, so, if this
is anywhere else,
varieties in another part of the world, and these were 100, 200-year-old vines being used for these cuvées, the prices would be, multiples higher.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I would like to add that obviously there are many reasons to fall in love in Santorini. You go with someone special, you have the view, you have the wines, you have the gastronomy, you have restaurants like Celine. Celine, the new Celine, the new location of Celine is where is the pole, where the pole was last year in Katikis Garden. So you have you have too many reasons to go to Santorini. Yeah, and I just took the point from Justin saying that if you go to other touristic places, I mean, the wine is not great in most of the cases.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to my second wine here, which is, I wanted to have something. Initially, I wanted to go for a Krotiri from Sigalas, because I really love this expression, which is very salty, very lean, very distinctive. But I thought, okay, we're doing that from Cellini, and Cellini is in Fira. So I got a Fira. Yeah. That was easy. I got a Fira. This is a 2015 from the terroir, from the villages from Sigalas. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this is 12 months on the lease. All these villages, bottlings had 12 months on the lease. And it's showing very well, first of all. Been 5 years old, which is like the first pillow for Assyrtiko. It's quite buttery, ripe fruit, quince, no oxidation at all. You can feel the yeast, the creamy biscuits on the nose. Quite expressive nose, very very open, very friendly, almost sensual. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Very well balanced. Finish is, I don't know how many minutes it will keep forever, I think.
Yeah.
Totally gastronomic wine. Give it something with a little bit butter, ideally langoustines, or maybe, I don't know, something like a lobster.
Yeah.
Ravioli with lobster, if you can afford it. If we cannot afford that, which is most of the cases, we can go for something, a nice fish, perhaps.
Yeah, agreed. As long as it's got lots of lemon on it.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, favorite pairings with Assyrtiko, Justin and Lenka?
So I'm going to be a bit controversial here.
Yeah.
I know we're talking through Celine restaurant. So, you know, I think in a restaurant environment, food pairing is absolutely crucial, because you go to a restaurant to really enjoy a meal, and you've got a few courses, and you're taking your time with the food. However, in the home environment, we don't really do food and wine matching, largely because we know what wine we want to drink, and we know that we're going to meditate over the wine. We're going to spend time with the wine. We're going to eat our dinner within 5 minutes and it's done. That's it. The wine's going to stay with us for an hour, for 2 hours, you know, however long. Assyrtiko usually doesn't last that long, to be fair, because it's too tasty. But, you know, you understand what I mean. It's more important for us to enjoy the wine and be happy with the wine we've got in front of us than whether it goes with the meal that's going to disappear quickly. So...
Yes, but remember, you're not a typical consumer, and
Probably
you're not a typical couple in terms of choosing wine. So your idea about communicating food and wine matching for Assyrtiko to consumers would be?
For me, it would be definitely fish dishes, and it would be light sort of citric flavors that go really well with the Assyrtiko. But because of Assyrtiko's sort of waxy, creamy character as well, I think you already said butter, but I would say maybe scallops would be a really nice match. Something on those sides, something creamy and buttery, but with a nice sort of citrusy, citrusy sauce on top. Yeah,
I'd go, you know, octopus, something like
that. Grilled octopus.
Yeah, maybe slightly, you know, a la plancha, barbecued, you know. Sorry, that's the Spanish style, Yiannis. Wrong Mediterranean destination. But you know, so it needs some of that char, because the rockiness of the Assyrtiko could go quite well on the with the smokiness of the barbecued. But I also think, for me, I agree with Lenka a bit that we segue between drinking the wine to start with. Obviously, being in an Anglo-Saxon culture, we're happy to drink wine on its own as well as with food. It does both. But for me, the most important thing is that Assyrtiko is very close in composition to my own body's internal liquids. so when I drink it, really it's just a harmonizing match between two things that have been separated for several hundred years and something, and they're being reunited. So the compatibility is between me and the Assyrtiko, and then the food will catch up and be compatible eventually as well.
Good point. Nice description. Trying to connect all this information. For me, you can go from everything that comes from the sea urchins, oysters, everything that comes from the sea. But one of the fantastic things with Assyrtiko, you can have it with pork, you can have it with poultry, chicken, duck, whatever. Yeah, you can have it. For me, slow cooked lamb with a little bit of lemon juice on top. Amazing.
This is what we had on last Sunday for Greek Easter.
Yeah, that's exactly what we had.
Slow cooked shoulder of lamb with rosemary and lemons, and we caravaned the 17 Caramelagos Aperitus and had that at the start of the meal, and it was
tamam. We say this is magic. This is this is perfection for Assyrtiko. It can go
cuts through that fattiness like no problems.
Because there are so many different styles of Assyrtiko as well. Obviously, we have here, I really like this wine, the Skin Contact Orange Assyrtiko from Karamolegos, which is lovely. And it's obviously completely different from some of the other examples, but there are different foods that will go with that wine. And if you have Nikteri, which is more powerful, then you can serve more powerful dishes with it. So I think it's quite versatile as a variety. But you know what you want from a wine when you're eating food is acidity, and obviously Assyrtiko has that in spades. So it's a very good food wine.
Absolutely, and I don't know, but I'm kind of hungry, so the leftovers will be with a little bit of fish that I will prepare afterwards. So before we close our first episode, let's play a game. So my idea is I throw a word that describes Assyrtiko, and we carry on for 2 or 3 rounds and see how we can adapt to the character of Assyrtiko. It can be an adjective, it can be a noun, whatever. So I will start with short.
Okay. Brine.
Brine.
Lemon flowers.
Salty.
Lemon balm.
Lemon zest.
Oh, come on. Mineral.
Mineral? Yeah, okay.
Sulfuric.
Precise.
Rocky.
Rocky.
Yep.
Firm.
Laser.
Laser.
Distinctive.
Energy.
Vivacious.
Yeah. Did I say lemon oil?
No, but okay. Did I say persistent?
Tannic.
Yeah.
Tannic.
Historic.
Layered. So we can keep on
Going
for many rounds. And for me, this is the magic of the variety. And I didn't want you to know the question because you can prepare a vocabulary.
Yeah.
And this came easily, and you have so many smoky saltiness. We have from smoky saltiness. There are so many words, and all these fit to the unique character of Assyrtiko.
Yeah, indeed.
Fantastic, guys! I want to thank you so much. You've been a great company, like always, and we wanted to catch up. So, what is a better way than doing an Instagram live?
Exactly, and you've picked the perfect day here in London because it's hit like 24 degrees.
Oh, really?
Glorious sunshine. It's like it's an Assyrtiko day. We're going into Assyrtiko season right now.
Yes, correct. Assyrtiko season. Hopefully, it will open in all countries soon.
Yeah.
And looking forward to share more Assyrtiko. Hopefully, your vacation will not be cancelled, and you can fly to all places that you have planned. Is it Greece this time?
Yep.
Fingers crossed.
No, actually, we're cheating on Greece.
Oh.
Yeah, we're meant to be going to Croatia in the summer.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that actually happens.
We'll see what happens.
We're not far away, guys. Yiannis, thank you so much. Cheers.
Thank you.
And for the Celine next episode will be next week, next Thursday. We'll cover Nikteri and Vinsanto in a new episode.
Very good.
See you. Thank you so much.
Yiannis.
Bye-bye. Ciao.